Hello, everybody. Welcome to Film Mastering, Marketing, and Distribution, the masterclass. So here we are, week 3, and it's an exciting week. Just needed, a bit of time here just to get all this information together. I've just been, trying to wrap my head around it. But there's a lot to talk about, and I think we're in for a really great, week lesson or workshop in this film marketing and mastering concept. So again, if you haven't been able to catch weeks 1 and 2, you're here now. This ticket gives you the access to weeks 1, 2, 3, and same with next week. If you can't attend week 4 live, don't worry, you can just rewatch these, and we'll be posting these on our YouTube channel as well. So always check out our website, tvmcs.ca, and you can access our YouTube channel there. So we've been getting a lot of questions and feedback, which has been great. And I've just been trying to keep up with all of this and get the most relevant information possible. So we've looked at what's required in marketing a film. And last week we looked at trailers, poster art, creating a press kit, and all that kind of marketing information that's required. So this week we're going to move forward and say, okay, you've got all that ready. You have your masters ready, which was what we covered in week 1. So how do you master? What's a master video file? What's a DCP? You hear that a lot. Film festivals will ask for a DCP. What is a DCP? So week 1, we explained that, but it's a digital cinema package. It's used in movie theaters to project through digital projection systems. Basically, a server takes the file and it's able to play these JPEG 2000 individual frames, just like it would have played a film on a print frame by frame. It plays the images frame by frame as well and just spits them out and projects them in a high quality format. And that's the digital cinema package with sound. So that's that mastering. Then we talk about ProRes, mastering for online use, and so on. So we've done all that. We've created our press kits, we've created our trailers, we have all of our materials ready. The next step is film festivals. And that's what we're going to look at this week. Film festivals and screenings. And week 4, next week, we're going to get into film distribution and film sales, and what can we expect in that kind of realm. But the first, kind of step 1, you finish the film, you master the film. Step 2, you get all your marketing materials ready, a trailer. Step 3, we start to look at preparing for a film festival run and screenings. And that's really what we'll be looking at today. So I just want to thank all our partners in this project. So we have the Canada Council for the Arts, and we have our library partners, Blue Mountains Public Library, Collingwood Public Library, Wasaga Beach Public Library. Now we have Digital Arts Computer Stations, the 27-inch iMac computers loaded with Blackmagic DaVinci Resolve, loaded with DCP-O-Matic, which is what we demonstrated week 1. So you can go to the libraries, you have a membership card, just go to the libraries, sit down at these digital arts computers. You can finish all of your film work, your mastering, your marketing plans. You can use our other creative tools such as Affinity Photo, Designer, Publisher. You can publish a press kit. So if you haven't watched any, we have workshops that we've done on book publishing. So check that out, Affinity Publisher. That's on these digital arts computers as well. And you can create a whole press kit there, multiple pages, and work on it just like Adobe InDesign. It's the same kind of software. So today what we're going to look at is film festivals and how to start your festival run. And also kind of a discussion. I'm going to give as many best practices, tips on how to approach this, how to approach film festivals, how to approach film screenings. And then we're going to look at virtual film screenings, which is a very new normal during the pandy times of creating the virtual film screenings and looking at tickets and video on demand and so on, just like you guys are watching now. This virtual film, virtual video, it can be live, it could be done as a video on demand. What is video on demand? So we're going to answer these questions as well. So let's get going right away. So film festivals and how to start your festival run. So I put a bunch of notes together here, and feel free, you can rewatch these, so don't worry about taking notes now. Just enjoy, sit back, and we're going to get into a lot of information. So film festivals and how to start your festival run. So, what does that mean? And I think that's always important, the festival run. And that is a term, and it's a very important period that you've just finished your film, and you want to have a festival run before you make it publicly available. So there might be kind of an urge to, okay, let's get it on YouTube and just get it out there, let the public watch. Sure, that's one path, and we'll talk about that kind of more next week in the distribution path. You might not really want to wait, because what happens is a festival run is typically about a year or a year and a half of a film traveling around and doing festivals before it's really totally made publicly available. Now this is important. I really want to talk about the festival run, because as digital artists, digital filmmakers, and as if we're making art films, or they're also sometimes referred to as festival films, you may very well want to do a festival run. Festival runs are also important as artists for grants and getting that kind of funding in place to show that it's being screened in film festivals around the world, domestically, internationally. So that festival run is really important. And as indie filmmakers, the festival run is of great importance, because that's where people learn about it. What kind of people? Could be the audience, so you can get word of mouth with the audience, but also what it really brings to the table is the distributors and the press. So people can write great articles. You can get it could be Variety could write about. It could even be a short, and someone's blown away with how great the short is that they saw, or a documentary that they saw. It's a must see. So you never know who's going to be there in audience-filled film festivals, and who's going to write about it, who's going to see it. A distributor could see it, and we've had some great success that way. People would, we've had some buyers who sit in a festival, they watch the film, and then they contact you and say, hey, we want to put it on this station, or we want to get it, put it with our distributor network. Or a distributor says, hey, I really want your film. Do you have distribution yet? So that's great, and that's how it can be discovered. So the festival run is really a time of discovery. It's also a time of you can see how it's doing, how it's performing. So if it's in front of an audience, it's also a way to test things. Does it screen well? Maybe you start to realize people aren't getting the ending. People aren't understanding something. Maybe you need to go back a bit and redo something. It could be a great way before it's totally out there in the public to kind of test run it. Because as an indie filmmaker, we don't have millions of dollars to do test screenings and find out what the public thinks about it. But a film festival is a great way to start to see that. Oftentimes, if you've attended some festivals, you'll see things where it's presented as a work in progress. I've been to ones where it's not fully mixed, it's not finished, but they want to just screen it because they've been invited. They can't get it done in time potentially, but also maybe they don't want to get it done in time because they want to gauge what the audience thinks of the film before they even finish it. So it's a great testing ground, and that happens a lot. So the Worldwide Film Festival release strategy, it's focusing on having the film selected and screened at film festivals around the world. So that's the goal. Again, so you're getting world tour, think about the artist. You want to get your art out there, and film is hard sometimes to get out there as in a festival or a gallery kind of thing. So think of the festival as kind of of galleries around the world where your film is then screened, just as it would be if you had your art piece traveling to galleries and doing like a tour in galleries. That's the same equivalency for the films, and why film festival runs are important. So big question, where do you start? There's probably over 100,000 film festivals in the world, probably even more than that. That's probably a conservative number in that. So I think, there's so many film festivals. And there's a lot of film festival entry fees. So that's what we're going to look at today. Where do you start? What's the best way to make a plan? And how can you make it work without, breaking the bank? And also, what's out there and what's important, and I'm going to give some tips on how to strategize and how to identify the film festivals that could be right for you. And I don't want to knock any festivals, because there could be, there's always genre festivals. There can be really small festivals that can be really great for you, smaller community festivals. But we want to try and avoid some of these. There's kind of sometimes groups of kind of touring things where you can pay a lot of money, you get a screening or kind of awards, and you can pay a lot of money, but how relevant is that? How important is that? You got to always assess the kind of the investment of that. If you're spending $200 for an entry fee, what kind of festival is it that's charging $200? And assessing, is it worth that for you? Okay, so choosing the right festival for your film. So this is, again, not exhaustive. This is just some quick pointers, and I'll expand it as much as I can. So it can be really overwhelming and very expensive. Let's say even if you're looking to enter 100 film festivals, it could be 100 times $100. All of a sudden you're spending $10,000 on that, right? So that's a lot of money to do that. So it's hard. Let's say you spent 3,000 on your film. You can't spend 10,000 on film festivals. You might want to, if you spent a few thousand making a short film, maybe you're looking to spend $100, $200 to enter, and that's okay. So here's a few important things to consider. And again, it's not exhaustive, and we'll probably expand as I even talk through this. Start with a release plan. So this is a film festival release plan, strategy plan. And this is you got to ask yourself, what type of festival should you submit to? So are you looking for kind of the top, world festivals? And that would be things like, the Toronto International Film Festival, Cannes, Venice, Berlin, Sundance, Slamdance, and domestically, so like Vancouver International Film Festival, and we have the Atlantic Film Festival. Sudbury is quite a big one domestically here as well. So, what kind of festivals are you going to submit it to? Those kind of big festivals in terms of what, around the world, and world status, kind of the majors, or, is it going to be smaller ones, or specific to the type of film it is? Are you going to just submit to shorts, film festivals that just showcase short films? And, and there's that's always a strategy, because this is the whole thing. If you're putting it out there with, in feature films, so something like Cannes, they probably show maybe half a dozen short films. So it's very, very, very hard to get a short film into a festival that's really predominantly focused on feature films. But, if you're going to short film festival, the World International Short Film Festival, and it's showing 10,000 short films, then that's great. You can be part of that, and people are going to that festival to specifically see short films. That could be the same for films about history, nature, a documentary film festival, Hot Docs, big major film festival, only documentary films, right? So you're putting your film in there if it's a documentary, and you want to be screened with documentaries and shown that way. And the industry going to it is really looking for documentary films, and that's what they're purchasing and stuff. So that's a really important choice. So choosing what type of festivals, and we'll have more on that. Decide on the genre and screening potential of your film. So, if the genre is a very specific genre, is it globally appealing, or is it more localized or a niche film? So a short film that's a film noir, murder mystery is a very specific, genre, and it's a very niche film. So that might want to go to a specific short film. It might want to go to a mystery film festival, that kind of thing. Now, a narrative film that has, global stories, commercial potential, or indie film potential, and again, does it have a globally appealing story? Can that, that's a big question. Can it work in that way? So then you really want to go. You could, shoot for the stars. You're looking for like Cannes, TIFF, Venice, Berlin, Carlo Vivari, like all these major film festivals, and that's great. Or is it more of a niche film? Like, is it horror film? And I think there's a lot of festivals that are like that, where they the horror film festivals. There's great ones. There's one called Fantasia in Montreal, and it really has like sci-fi, horror, and so on. And it's a great, real niche film festival. And the next thing, create a budget. Do you want to spend $100 or $2,000? And stick to that budget and say, okay, look, I'm gonna enter 6 film festivals and spend about $100. or I'm going to enter 30 film festivals. I have $2,000. What can I do for that? And you'll notice that, some of the big major film festivals, they don't necessarily charge that much. And, and that's okay. It might be $100 or so to enter some of the major festivals. And, if you only have a $100 budget, then, do you want to enter one major festival for $100, or can you find 10 at $10 so you can get potentially 10 film festivals? Now, just by entering, I think that's really also important. Just by entering, you want to always look at what's the possible gain from each of these festivals by entering. Does it screen to an audience? Will there be distributors? Will there be press? Is it just online only? And also, I think the gain is, that risk factor. You have to analyze, if I'm going to have a $100 budget and I only submit it to one festival, it's a one-shot deal. So you get in, great. If you don't get in, then you didn't get into any festivals. So look at that. If you have a really small budget you want to work with, try to spread it out to 5 or 6 entries. Because generally, the kind of percentages are, it can be 10 to 50%. And it doesn't matter. You could have, the biggest film with the biggest actors. It's not going to get into every festival. Just because, again, there's selections and so on. And so many different factors. So it's not always the quality of the film, the budget. It could be super low budget. You have things like Blair Witch that were like, no money. You have early Robert Rodriguez, El Mariachi, which was, shoestring, super low budget. And, and things can struggle, right? So, it doesn't mean anything. You can have, Scorsese films that are, in a few festivals, but, we're seeing them right on Netflix. And that's the nature of the film and how it was made and the plan. So, again, these are all these strategies of the release plan. So if you're focusing on a festival run, you want to get into a few festivals. So try to budget so that you can, look at, you probably need to enter 6 festivals maybe to get into 1, 2, or 3 of them. And that would be great. If you got in 3 out of 6 entries, that's fantastic. You're doing really, really well. Maybe you just get into 1. That's great. But if you only entered 1, you don't get in, you're done, right? So think of that strategy of a numbers thing. Choosing, the right fit as a festival for the film that you've made is really, really important. And to have realistic expectations. You're not going to get into every festival you enter, and that's a reality. I've had some films that would just kind of take off, and I think one film, a short film, a while back, and I think we had it in over 50 festivals, and it just happened, and you don't even, it's hard to explain. And then I thought, another film that I thought was even better than that film, was only in like 4. So it's such a subjective avenue, and and again, there's a lot to choose from. So here's the film festival selection, because that's I think the key, the best practices that I want to focus on here, because it could be a whirlwind of where do you put it to, where who do you choose, and there can be a lot, and there's the websites that you use, the online tools for selecting the festivals can be quite overwhelming. It can give you so many possibilities and suggestions. Hey, why don't you submit to these 4 other festivals? So explore film festivals with the potential to screen your film, because that's the key. You want it screened. And there's also things called, they do like award festivals, where you're getting awards and it's not screened. And that's different. There's awards as well, and that's a whole other ballgame. So awards are great, where Academy Awards, different kinds of awards. There's Telly Awards, Canadian Academy Awards, the Oscars, Emmys, Canadian Screen Awards, right? So that whole idea. So there's awards, and that's one thing. They're not where people are screening it, but they're to acknowledge the film's worthiness of an award, right? So that's a whole other thing too, and that's great. Awards are that, but sometimes there's film festivals that are basically giving out just awards, but there aren't any screenings. They're less I would say less important to you as an indie filmmaker, as an artist, because again, you go for the awards, but I think film festivals that are just awards film festivals, I would recommend not necessarily going to pursue a lot, because you want to really get the screening in front of an audience as much as possible, and that's great. So, a short would work well in a World Short Film Festival. I talked about that earlier. A horror film would work well in a horror film festival. And a documentary about nature would work well in a nature documentary film festival. So, really trying to find the right fit in terms of festivals and, choosing that accordingly. So if your film was about the automotive industry as a documentary, you wouldn't be entering it into a nature documentary. And sometimes they'll just withdraw your entry, and you don't necessarily get your money back if it's not the right fit. So, you got to choose to the right festivals, or you could also just be wasting money if you're paying for something and your film is ineligible. So you want to make sure, don't submit a 20-minute film to a short film festival that has a maximum 15-minute running length. So you have to always read these entry guidelines. I think are really, really key. So that's one of the first things. Explore what the film festival is about. So key factors in deciding the value of the entry fee. There are a lot of great festivals, and they tend to be more, especially in the international realm or sometimes early festivals, that can be free. And, free is amazing. And, what does that mean? So, is it worth being part of the festival? So is it just free? Is it going to be screened? Will people be in attendance? Is it part of let's say a cultural organization? It could be part of a city that organizes films about sustainable agriculture, and you've made something that fits that, and it could be free because it's a film festival celebrating films about sustainable agriculture or agricultural practices. Very niche, but you can see why it would be free, because they want to get that specific category of documentary to their festival. So, free, check out free, that's great. But the next thing we're going to look at is strategizing your release plan, kind of your schedule. Because you want to hold back that world premiere for a film festival that will, carry some weight in terms of where you'd have the world premiere. So more on that. How long has the festival been taking place? Is it its first year or 25th year? So if something's, just started, it's its first year, and let's say they're charging a $200 entry fee, I'd be kind of worried about, why is it a $200 entry fee and it's just started? Like it doesn't really have a lot to prove. That's kind of a similar analogy to, you as a filmmaker, you're making a film, maybe you just started, and then, someone's asking, well, how much, I want you to come and make a film about my dance that I'm performing. And you wouldn't say, I need $2 million if it's early in your career. So think of the festivals too. If they're charging $200 and it's early in their career, does that make sense? It might be something to be worried about too. So, if it's $200 and it's, the Cannes Film Festival, I think they're $100 or so, or $80. That is a very different thing. It's 50 years, I think it's celebrating, or close to it. So that's a very different thing. Is it $50 and it's around for 10 years? That seems pretty legitimate. It's been running for a while. So I think that's key, is has it been around for a while if it's charging a lot of money. If it's free and it just started, that could be great. You could be part of the inaugural year of a festival. And if it fits your film and you think it's worthwhile, go for it. And that's a really nice way to do it. How many people attend the festival? And that's really great, because some of the festivals will give you that attendance number. They'll say, hey, 20,000 people attend this festival annually. So that's a big amount of a crowd that could the eyes that could see your film. So 20,000 people attend, they're probably only seeing, maybe 2,000 or 3,000 people will see specific screenings or films, or 100 or 200 people. But that's a big volume of people that have the potential to at least stumble upon your film or see it in the catalog, in the program, and potentially give future future considerations or word of mouth right? So if 20,000 people have your film in a catalog that they have online or access, and they stumble upon the film, the trailer, that's great. That's an amazing thing. So a high attendance is great. And that's key too. Are people actually going to it? Is there some sort of a screening? Now, with the during the pandemic now, a lot of things are switching to hybrid where they could be online plus theater screenings, and that's fine. But at least there's still people watching it. You want that viewership online or in person. Are there awards? There could be awards as part of the festival. Best first feature, best director, best cinematography, best editing, best actor awards, best documentary, best short, any kind of awards. That's great too, because it's kind of an extra thing where there's, the film festival screening, then there's like a People's Choice Award and so on. But it's not just about the awards. It's still about the screening. So the awards are secondary, and like I alluded to earlier, the film festivals that are just awards, you want to see if there's a value in that on its own. Okay, website entry, online prep. So, choose a service. There's a great Canadian company. It's called Film Freeway. I use that regularly. And it's great is because you want it for, it's a one-time setup, and you put all your information about the film, and then you just submit. And in submitting, the festival then accesses your film, your trailer, your press materials, and you don't have to keep uploading it. In the past, I remember still printing press kits. I'd have, 10-page press kits, 20-page press kits, printing them. I'd have to make a VHS tape or a DVD, and then you'd send this kit of a screener to each festival with like a 5 or 6 page entry form, and it went out. It's a lot of work, and it was really time consuming. And and the one I mentioned with like 50 festivals, this was pre-online, so it was all sending these packages out by Canada Post and mailing out. But now you do this all online. So you put your film screening link, so this could be Vimeo or YouTube, keep it private. Again, why should it be kept private? You don't want it just on YouTube and people are watching it, because then you no longer have that world premiere. It's already publicly released, right? So we want to keep it private so that the festival run is essentially kind of the pre-public release. Think of the festival run. I think here's a really great analogy. I get these questions are, come up of, okay, why a festival run? I think of it kind of like when the book is in a hardcover. It's before it's in the paperback, and it's available to the public kind of as a lower cost rental. So think of that, festival run, just like when a movie's in the theaters, right? We're getting maybe used to not seeing it like that anymore. It's online and theater at the same time, but it's that expensive premiere access, right? Disney does that. You pay like $35 for premiere access to Jungle Cruise most recently, right? So that's the same idea. You want that premiere access through the festivals, like when it's pre-launch before it's a paperback. So it's like your hardcover. So film screening link, keep it private, Vimeo or YouTube. Then you put the film trailer. That should be totally public because you want people to see your trailer. That's leading them to want to eventually rent it, purchase it, go to the film festival to see the film. Photos, stills, bio of director, summary of film. So all of that is what we covered last week in our marketing materials, and that's what you'll need to go on to something like Film Freeway. And that's your whole online prep and how that works. So let me just switch over here. I have the Film Freeway screen here available. So let's just put this on right here. So here it is. So filmfreeway.com, and like I mentioned, it's a Canadian company, and you can see it's already partnered with a bunch of festivals. So you have San Francisco, Tribeca, Sundance, TIFF, Leeds, Santa Barbara, so all these like major festivals, and it's always free for you. And then, so there's no cost in being part of Film Freeway. Then the only thing is you're paying for the actual entries. So here's a little bit how it works. And it's mobile friendly, which is amazing. So you can discover festivals, you submit with a click, and then you just wait, and it tells you if you've been, if your film's accepted or not. So this is really key. So it's trusted by the world's leading festivals, 177 Academy Award, BAFTA Award credited festivals. So these are kind of the top tier of film festivals. So that's the same idea with film festivals. You're kind of going through like, phase one, phase two, phase three. Phase one will be like all those kind of major festivals. Phase two will be, kind of more of the smaller festivals. Phase three could be more of a localized festivals. So I'm just going to go to browse festivals. So here's the festivals. And what's great is, so I can choose nature documentary. And it's going to say, here's these. And it's going to say, look, third international mountain and nature short documentary film, Palma, Spain. So very, very specific. Golden Tree International Documentary Festival, Nature Without Borders, North London Documentary Festival. So it gives you right away that kind of niche thing. Then here we go to the Academy Award BAFTA. So this is the ones that are Academy Award qualifying, or BAFTA, which are the British Academy. And there's also Canadian Screen Award qualifying. So Reel to Reel International Film Festival for Youth, Foyle Film Festival, London, Derry, United Kingdom, right? New York Shorts, Vancouver International, Sundance, Victoria Film Festival, Toronto After Dark, so horror, sci-fi, action, Ann Arbor, Tampere Film Festival in Finland, Leeds, Cairo International Film Festival, short film competition, right? So again, Female Eye Film Festival, and so on and so forth. And then, so these are, what's available, and you can say open and closed, and then, you go from there. I'm just going to go back. You can go to trending, so kind of what's trending, what's getting a lot of entries. So you can be part of that. You're seeing, okay, that's what I want to maybe be part of, and we go from there. So, it's really great because you can just explore. There's the most popular ones, who are people submitting to. And this gives you kind of a good gauge of, maybe film festivals that you want to submit to as well. Right, so that's great. And then you can also you can go by year. Luminaries, 10 plus years, pace setters, visionaries, documentary, screenwriting, horror, sci-fi, short films, tickets, and then you can go to deals. And this is kind of fun too. This will give you deals. So people offer codes, 50% off, 65% off, 10% off, and so on. And, why not? You might find that, something's very affordable, $10 instead of a lot more money, right? So that's how that would work. So Film Freeway, highly recommend it. It's a great way to submit your films, and it just goes that way. You submit it, then it just says, undecided, and then it tells you if it's accepted, and then you'll get communication and so on. There might be some additional information that the festivals want. And then they might say, hey, I need your master. And we cover that in week one. You have your master ready. You're like, no problem. I have a DCP. No problem. I have a ProRes master. I have a QuickTime MOV. So you have all of those masters ready to go. So that's a fantastic thing. So that's all that's required for the festival. So again, if you go to Film Freeway, you can see what's Academy Award qualifying, kind of what's trending, what's popular, top reviewed. It's very open. So it's kind of that whole idea where it's like a Google review. You can find out what people can put reviews. They can give it a 1 star and say, this thing just, cost me $100 and I don't even know what happened with my film and I got a piece of paper. It's there, and the festival can't drop those reviews. It's an open community where everyone can say things. So everybody's trying to be fair, and if you see something that doesn't have any reviews, maybe people aren't really getting into it or it's not being attended. So you kind of got to look at that. It gives you transparency. You can see who operates the festival. So is it operated as a multinational? Does it have people operating it from Spain, the US, and Canada? And it's called a Toronto Indie Film Festival, then you kind of go, well, why is it operated? So it's kind of maybe a group of some larger festivals. Nothing wrong with that, but at least it gives you the transparency so you can make the right decision. If it's, and it gives you attendance figures. It gives you ratings. It might say top 100 reviewed in Film Freeway, top 100 reviewed from Movie Maker magazine or whatever. So it gives you all this kind of information. So that's great. That's a really nice thing to do. So website entry, online prep, that's what needs to happen, and you can use something like Film Freeway. Film screening and premieres. So here's the important thing, best practices. And we talked about this earlier. So, you want to save your world premiere for the biggest film festival you hope to be part of. So if you want to aim for like, Toronto International Film Festival, you want to save that world premiere. You don't want to premiere it, earlier in something smaller, if you really intend to go there first. If you have your mindset on a specific short film festival that you really want to premiere in, maybe it's I don't know, in the Hamptons or Leeds or something, you're like, "Oh, that's where I want to do that." And this is how you start to strategize your film festival release plan. You aim for the ones that you want to be the biggest or the most impactful for your film, and and here really importantly, that those major festivals, like we saw those Academy Award type things, they want world premieres, right? So Cannes, Toronto, and so on, they want world premieres. Sometimes it can be so competitive that even between that, like Cannes wants a world premiere, and then it won't be even shown in Toronto because it was premiered in Cannes, right? So that's how important that is. That's how major that is. If it's in Cannes, you don't have. That's great. You've succeeded with one of the top 10 festivals in the world. And then, here's a note. If you need to do like a local private cast and crew screening, which is a great thing to do, you finished a short film, you want to show it, just show it locally. And the screening it wouldn't be considered a world premiere because it's by invitation, it's your own private screening. So private screenings don't count as world premieres. And sometimes locally, it doesn't count either. Like if they let you, a major festival say, hey, it's fine, you've released it within Ontario for purposes of your release, or because the documentary is screened at a museum and things like this, that's still okay. It's a local release. It's not a international release. It's limited. But again, if you're charging and public can attend, it could be considered a world premiere. So if you have a theater and you have 100 people to come and see the film, that could be viewed as a world premiere, and it could revoke you from being in something like Toronto International Film Festival. They say, hey, you're accepted, and then they find out that you had an online screening just before their festival in September, and it could revoke your acceptance because that's part of the terms. So that's really important. Always in Film Freeway, you can go through the festival's terms and regulations. Always read those, because sometimes they might say that it tours, that your film will be part of a 6-month tour. You need to know about that before you enter. So always read through all the fine print as well. Choose a venue that works well for the film. So if you're going to do a film screening and have a premiere, I made a note here. So let's say it was a film about an artist. That could play really well in a gallery. Think about maybe it could be in a gallery, in an art gallery, a local art gallery, a provincial art gallery, national art gallery, somewhere you can say, hey, I want to show this film about this artist in a gallery as the backdrop. And maybe a nature film, you could even think of an outdoor screening. And outdoor screenings are very popular now. The drive-in type movie theater or, outdoor screenings are a great way to do a film festival or a film premiere screening, right? So think about the film screening and premieres, the venue and so on. And I'm thinking now this is outside of the film festival. You've done the film festival, or you want to do one for cast and crew, that's fine. Or you want to start doing some film screenings and after the film festival run or during it. So maybe you've done a couple big ones that you're happy with, some world premieres. You're starting to get into, continuing the film screenings. You want something a little bit of to start film screening, having the film shown in theaters and venues. And that's a really great way to get your work out there. Virtual film screening. So this is a very popular thing now. So you can choose to do an online virtual screening format instead of to be in a theater. And you can use a ticketing service. So, right now you've joined us so that you've used something called Eventbrite. It's a great ticketing platform. So you can go through Eventbrite. Then you can have something like right now you're here live, you have this link. So you could do your film screening like this. It could be live screened right there. You can also use something like video on demand, a VOD service. And something like Vimeo lets you do video on demand, or there's a bunch of other platforms too. And video on demand is perfect because then what you can do is you can charge a ticket price. It could be a rental, 24 to 48 hours. You can offer it for a select period of time for a 2-month period. So you can get people you can release your film and have people rent it as a video on demand. This is kind of a little bit of an in-between discussion because next we're going to get into distribution and release concepts further. and what that means. And we're going to get into stuff like, if you want your film on iTunes and self-distribution versus distribution. So it's a little bit of a segue into next week, but that's kind of the format. If you wanted, do your festival run, do your research on the festivals, set a budget, set a plan of what your targets are, get your film into the festivals. And then you might want to do some screenings as well during the festival run. So that could be, again, in theaters, at venues, or some bit of an online screening format as well. But, stay tuned for next week, because that's where we're going to get into distribution and that kind of whole video on demand in a more detailed discussion. So just a little bit of a precursor on that. So that is our week 3 of the film festivals and screenings. And again, thanks to all our partners in making this project happen and for us to be able to have this kind of a workshop. So Canada Council for the Arts, we have our library partners, Blue Mountains Public Library, Collingwood Public Library, Wasaga Beach Public Library. Again, my name is Tom Strnad. You can send me an email, tom@tbmcs.ca, if you have questions about this or you want more insight into the film festival process. Love to see your questions, so feel free to email me. And until next week, have a great rest of the day, and be sure to join us for week 4, where we get into the distribution, sales, broadcast sales, self-distributing, and working with distributors to finish this masterclass off. Till then, have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you guys next week.